Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mild's Culture Plate. I am your host, Mild Kevin Miles. It is Wednesday, January 18th, 2023, and I've got quite the show for y'all. First off, before we get started, if you can take just a moment and push that little thumb below. If you're watching this on Rumble, hit the little boxing glove or the plus or whatever. Whatever the thing is now, I've heard the plus may be going away or went away. I'm not sure. But, yeah. So, first off, whiskey of the evening. I'm going to do it dirty tonight. Going with the Johnny Walker Black. Because we have quite the show this evening. I have to address some things that are going on. And I'm going to start off with the usual disclaimer. The following topic has to do with events that have occurred in certain online spaces. And while there are definitely a lot of streamers out there, and we will be discussing some of these streamers in this thing, there are definitely some streamers out there who do this derivative content where they compile clips of people talking about certain YouTubers and compile them together to create a narrative and talk about it and blah blah blah, and it's all e-celeb worship, and we don't really do that here at Mild's Culture Plate. I'm giving this disclaimer. I don't really do that. I don't really cover YouTubers and YouTube drama. However, there's some shit going down in the spaces surrounding Nick Rekieta, his YouTube and Rumble channel known as Rekieta Law, and more specifically in his locals chat. And what I mean by shit going down is there are other creators who are creating content that have criticized him for recent behavior or behavior changes. And again, I'm not trying to get into a whole discussion where I'm sitting and talking necessarily about Nick Rekieta. However, this channel deals with philosophy. This channel deals with concepts and thoughts and, not trying to be the thought police and free speech. So I thought I would comment a little bit on what's going on in Nick Rekieta's locals chat, because to be honest, I'm a frequent visitor of Nick Rekieta's locals chat. I tend to hang out in there quite a bit from time to time, and I've seen some of the things that are being complained about firsthand. And I've seen where some of these complaints come from, and I also see where some of these things are being purposefully overblown in order to create a narrative so that certain content creators have a scandal to cover. And it's fucking derivative content, for one. For two, any of us can go into a chat room and start taking screenshots and start making accusations. But it's important to know that you're fucking being accurate. And one of the things, okay, so first off, this seems to kind of have started on the kiwi farms, and quite frankly, I'm not interested in debating kiwi farms or getting involved in some little cat fight with kiwi farms. And Josh Moon, the guy who runs the website, did a video where he questioned some of Nick Rekieta's choices, and that's perfectly fine. He's been on Nick Rekieta's show. He's interacted a lot with people who become e-celebs in the online space, and he understands kind of, where people have tripped up and fucked up, and created scandals, and he may think he sees more than what he actually sees, and then somehow that has led to these other content creators making YouTube videos, and I'll name them by name. You can go out there and find them and watch their videos yourself, because I know what's going to happen if they respond to me at all. I'm going to be accused of straw manning their position. And so let me be clear. Let me go ahead and take a drink of this here Johnny Walker Black while my dog barks at everything walking down the street. That's pretty good. So, I know they're going to accuse me of straw manning. But here's the thing, I don't have to straw man. Like I said, you can go, and really it started with a content creator known as Claire Bear. That's Bere, Claire Bear. And a 4.5-ish hour live stream in which they had another guest or two on to just sit and rag on Nick Rekieta. And again, I'm not going to get too deep, but I want to address some of the things that were accused. Because, look, I agree with their premise. The problem is the evidence they gave isn't what they said it was. And mind you, this is a several hour long live stream, and I, to be perfectly honest, didn't listen to the whole damn thing, but I've listened to enough chunks throughout the whole thing, and there were bits and pieces of it that were clipped and chopped up and posted by another YouTuber who goes by the name of Alyssa Clips. One thing I want to address very specifically is there's a YouTube audience member who frequents a lot of these type of YouTube channels and who frequented Joe Neerman of Good Logic and tried to start a debate with Joe, and he invited her on his channel. She did not come on. I asked her if she would come on this show tonight to have a discussion, maybe even a debate about what the proper etiquette for a chat room or for a content creator would be. And she replied, "Oh, I'll debate you anytime, any place." I said, "Contact me on Twitter, please, and we'll get the stream set up." Of course, my inbox remains empty. So, fuck you, Cynthia. Let me just throw that out there. Fuck you, Cynthia. And here's the fucked up thing about why I bring up Cynthia is because a lot of these other content creators seem to be relying on Cynthia stirring trouble as like proof that Nick Rekieta's audience doesn't like his current behavior. Which couldn't be further from the truth. And, okay, so if you're not familiar with Nick Rekieta or what he does in his locals chat or what he's been doing, the overall complaint is that, okay, so he bills himself as someone who explains law-related topics on the internet. But here's the catch. He's not. He's a fucking entertainer. I mean, yes, he has a law degree, and yes, he does tend to talk a lot about law topics. He also talks about government. He also talks about guns. He also talks about relationships. And, a lot of the circles he runs in talks about, they all talk about a variety of issues. They're not strictly sticking to law topics. You know what I mean? So this idea, so their complaint is that he's not staying in his lane of law, right? And that now he seems to be interacting in a, quote, sexually aggressive manner with his locals chat. And, in this 4.5, 5 hour live stream, there were several clips being played of Nick Rekieta saying various things There was a whole segment where they, out of context, played a bunch of clips talking about Nick, who has 5 children with his very committed, very monogamous wife. But yeah, they're playing a clip of Nick talking about women after pregnancy not feeling confident. You know, they don't feel sexy. They put on a little weight. Things are sagging. Things are full. Things are fatter. Things are, you know. So they play this clip of Nick saying that, and then they contrast it immediately with another out of context clip of Nick being very complimentary of the ladies in his chat posting lewd photos. And try to make this narrative that Mr. Ricada is somehow grossed out by his wife, so to get his rocks off, he goes on the internet and flirts with women. And so that's like this is like the basis for their whole argument that if he keeps interacting in these ways, then he's going to push his wife away, and he's going to push his audience away, and his career is going to go down the toilet, and his marriage is going to break up, and his kids aren't going to like him, and his kids are going to grow up and see pictures of his ass, which we have seen pictures of his ass in the locals chat. And all of these degenerate things are going to happen to Nick Ricada, all because he has a little bit of fun with his audience. There are boundaries. There are boundaries. And in fact, as I speak to you right now, they are testing on locals an automod bot that's supposed to catch nudity in the chat. So it's crazy. It's the narratives are crazy, and quite frankly, it's people that, and again, maybe I'm guilty of it because here I am talking about it on my channel. I don't do derivative work. Right now, I could be posting clips of Alyssa Clips or Claire Bear of things on their channels, which Alyssa Clips doesn't have any actual content. Her entire content is chopped up clips of Ricada Law, chopped up clips of these other creators. No actual commentary added. Fair enough. I don't do that stuff. I'm here to talk to you about philosophy. And so the question is, a content creator, someone who's in this online space, someone doing what I'm doing now, trying to build an audience, someone who tries to lead somewhat by example, be an example to their community, not be a toxic, poisonous asshole. Someone who's not going to be a hypocrite and tell you, oh, this is my advice on how to live your life, meanwhile being a heathen themselves, But there is a little room for that. Nobody has to be perfect. The key is to own your shit, not try to hide from it, not try to be something you're not. And Nick Ricada has never claimed to be some super fundamentalist religious person. He has never claimed that he was squeamish about sexuality. In fact, if you are familiar, his best friend is Drexel from MGTOWN Podcasts. Shout out to Drex, by the way. Give me go ahead and take another swig. Shout out to Drex. Cheers to Drex, man. Good pimpcast the other night. Anyway, but yeah, Nick and Drex have talked about relationships and sexuality for years. But all of a sudden, Nick gets this locals chat, and it seems like there were some people in the Discord. Again, I'm not going to make accusations, but I find it an interesting coincidence that it wasn't when the locals started. It seemed to have erupted in the last couple of weeks since Nick Ricada shut down his Discord server for posting NSFW content where it wasn't supposed to be posted. So it seems like there might be some butthurt people that there's now NSFW content being posted in the locals chat. Lewds. And so one other little thing that was mentioned in some of these clips was that Nick Rekieta is a hypocrite. Because when the locals chat first started, there was this big thing about how there's one rule. Well, there's still one rule. No pornography. No buttholes. No penises. No vaginas. And no nipples. You could post lewd content. You could post pasties. You could post censored photos. Excuse me. But from time to time, rules get broken. And as someone who's moderating a channel or someone who's curating an audience, you could either take the asshole route and start censoring everything and start shutting everyone up, or you could take the route Nick Rekieta takes. He's a proponent of free speech. He removes what he thinks is an egregious violation of the rules and leaves the rest up. Now, the rest of us in chat, when we see something we think violates the rule, and definitely in the early days, we were concerned. So there were a lot of users that were concerned that if someone comes in posting anime with a titty, that the channel may have been at risk. And so we in the chat would beg and demand people to take such things down when they posted it. And we would criticize people and yell at them and tell them to get out of the chat. And so for some time there was this concern that when Nick wasn't in the chat to delete something, trolls might come in and post pornography and it could harm the channel. Since then, someone had mentioned a nipple getting through. And Nick had kind of replied to the person by saying, well, one nipple isn't going to take the channel down. So now these people are claiming that the one rule has changed and that Nick no longer cares about pornography in the chat. Because he's getting his rocks off to these ladies. Look, I am not here to speak for whatever motives or ethics or anything else Nick Rekieta may have. For all I know, these people could be onto something. Shout out to Mark in the chat. How's it going? But yeah, these people could be onto something. Nick Rekieta could have, tingly feelings for women in the chat. I don't know. But the question is, has he crossed a boundary in a visible way in front of his audience? Now, if you were to ask the people on Kiwi Farms or the people that used to be in his Discord, they're going to say yes. They're going to say, look, anytime you cross the boundary and start talking sexual to your audience, you've crossed a boundary. I don't think so. I think the boundary's been there the whole time. I think again, with Nick and Drex having many conversations about sexuality and women and relationships, I think this is just part and parcel of his brand. So, again, I'm not trying to make this all about Nick Rekieta, but I'm asking the question, when do things go too far? What is too far? When is interacting with your audience an unhealthy endeavor? And so, here I am. I'm a brand new YouTuber. I've only been around. I've got less than 20 subscribers. I've only been around for a number of months now. I'm trying to create content. In some point, I'm hoping to have a decent sized audience. And I'm hoping to have an audience that I would want to interact with. And I'll admit I'm a pervy sexual being myself. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm not going to say, look, there's no way for a monogamous man, and I'm not monogamous, but there's no way for a monogamous man or even a man to create healthy boundaries when interacting with half-naked women half a world away on the internet. I think once you get to a certain stage of adulthood, you do understand. Now, granted, there are lots of people who are new on the internet, and internet porn is such a new thing to them, and you got OnlyFans and Twitch Thoughts and all of these simpery tools. Nick Ricade is fucking smarter than that, and so am I. You know, so are most of the people that might be watching this video right now. You know, the idea that you would simp for an OnlyFans hoe or a Twitch Thought just because someone comes in the chat, shows a little bit of skin, and yeah, as a man, go ahead and compliment them. Because what's the other option for Nick Ricada or for me? Someone comes in to our forums, posts a picture of titties. What are we supposed to say? Oh God, that's gross. No, don't do that. Do you really want to be telling your audience that they're gross for posting a lewd photo? Now, again, if you're one of these uber conservative, Bible thumper, whatever, sure. But no one expects that out of Nick Ricada. No one expects that out of me. And I want to make it clear, I'm not asking for titty pics. You can find me on Twitter at NerfMild. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm not asking for titty pics, and I don't think Nick Ricada is asking for titty pics. He's created a standard of fun interactivity in his chat for adults. Now, again, these people have said, well, Nick Ricada's chat, all you got to do is go to the website and click on it, and you can see it. You don't have to be a member to just view the chat. Nobody is going to sit through, 6 hours of spurgery from weirdos and people posting memes about guns and, you know, talking and racist jokes. You know, nobody's going to sit through all of this for hours just to see Based from Mars throw up half a titty in a sexy pose. Nobody, especially a kid, because kids have a certain level of attention fucking deficit, you know, and I'm not speaking of the clinical term. It's just kids can't concentrate that much waiting through bullshit to get their reward. Kids just don't do that. So the idea that kids are hanging out, lurking on Nick Ricada's page for the occasional nipple to slip through, especially when they might see Nick Ricada's butt with a bottle sticking out of it. No one wants to see that. I mean, it's fun and it's funny, and if you're part of his audience, it's fun to joke about. But it's not like there are lots of people just waiting to beat off to Nick Ricada's flat butt, right? So again, they get these people, and one of the people that was in this 4-hour video, this, again, Claire Bear invited these gentlemen on with her, and like within the first minute, it's like, well, who is this? Oh, you have an anime titty for a picture. Oh. So you're clutching your pearls and you've got anime titty profile pictures, and we're supposed to judge you, or we're supposed to listen to you rather, to be the judge of what an online content creator's morality should be. So this has been taken one step further now, because now Alyssa Clips and Cynthia are coming back to the locals chat on a daily basis, and I'm just as guilty as everyone else, but I'm a big advocate of try your best to fucking ignore the trolls, because you're feeding their content. They're gonna fucking take screenshots. They're gonna go back and make a video. They'll probably cut this video into pieces and go make clips out of it and tell me how I'm wrong and tell me how I'm straw manning. I don't need to straw man. You had 5 hours worth of a point, and this is where you went with it. If anything, you're straw manning what actually happened. You're twisting you're exaggerating what actually happened to fit your narrative of degeneracy. But anyway, where was I going with that? So yeah, these are the people that are supposed to provide us with the moral framework of what people in online spaces are supposed to be doing. And now you have Cynthia and Alyssa coming into the chat, creating more conflict. And all of these people are saying the same thing. No, we're actually fans of Nick and want to protect Nick from the potential end of his career or the end of his marriage. And I say, bullshit. Bullshit. If you think the way to protect his career and marriage is to criticize his ethics, criticize the loyalty to his wife, criticize his morals, make him look like a man who doesn't believe in the values he stands for, this is your way of protecting him? Anyway, I call bullshit. And so if you're a shit stirrer, if you're someone who likes to go into online communities and stir the shit, it is what it is. And quite frankly, that's kind of what the chat's for a little bit. You know, you can kind of go in there and be a little weird. You can kind of create a little drama, push. But when you're literally trying to ruin the fun for everybody for hours at a time, and you're bogging down whatever's being talked about, whatever's being discussed, and nobody can really get a word in edgewise without seeing your crap scrolling through there. I mean, there's the block button, there's the X button, but on the inverse, if you have a problem seeing dicks and asses in the chat, or not dicks, but tits and asses in the chat, the X button's there for you too. You're welcome to leave. Anyway, so here we are. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is the Vice panel on masculinity. We started this on Saturday. I covered the first 12 minutes of it in my whole... And once again, I started off with a different topic, started it halfway through the show, only made it through 12 minutes. So I'm hoping to make it further than 12 minutes this time. Probably not going to make it through the whole thing again, but let's go ahead and pick back up this Vice panel of non-masculine, masculine, whatever, debating masculinity here. Let me make sure...
matters. God gives you one of those identities, you take on that role. And now you're responsible for not or for fulfilling that role. There's a masculine crisis because men are not taking responsibilities for the God-given roles that they have in society. And so when you take away the need to say, God made you this or God made you this, now you don't have to take responsibility for not fulfilling what you were called to do.
Okay, so again, this guy's your typical run-of-the-mill, super Christian conservative that is literally only on this panel so that liberals can point at this guy and say, yeah, this is God. I don't believe in God, so I don't need to listen to this guy. Like this guy's just a Christian, and I'm not a Christian, so why do I need to listen to a fucking word he says? Let me go ahead and say what's up to Mike in the chat. Gonna give you a toast, drinking the Johnny Walker Black Label. So howdy to Mike in the chat. Gonna continue.
When you do that, you also take away other things that somebody else may do. If I have a woman or a partner that wants to take on certain roles and I say, hey, those are my roles that God gave me in society, now I'm suppressing that person. Like, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. Yeah, you define who you are and how you behave.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna call bullshit, bro. This guy, if my wife wants to take on certain roles and I tell her, no, that's my job. What roles? What roles? What roles? And again, let's say responsibilities. What responsibilities do y'all see women, in large numbers saying, that's typically a dude thing, but maybe I'd rather take out the trash. I mean, granted, my relationship, we mix up the chores a bit, we mix up the roles a bit, but if I'm like, no, I'm a dude, I can take the trash out, she's not going to get offended. And look, there's this whole who pays for dinner, what works for your relationship works for your relationship. It has nothing to do with gender roles and masculinity. So you're talking about offending your partner or offending someone with mixing up a gender role? No. No. I mean, because quite frankly, if someone's going to be with super Christian guy, if someone's going to put up with him, then they know who he is and they will allow him to fill that role. He's not going to be with a partner that's so radically different from him that it's going to create that conflict.
Under God, that's what God gave us, free will.
But also, I think that the religious beliefs should not be used to dictate how other people identify.
Yep, here we go. I called it. So the liberal person right here, I don't think religion should be dictated. Yeah, okay. So again, they got this person at one extreme, they got the cowboy at the other extreme preaching God, and they're just going to dismiss each other. They're going to cancel each other out.
Fire how the people live their lives.
Humans need predictability, and when we put each other in these boxes, it gives us the opportunity to make decisions quickly. And I think that's what we're fighting as a civilization at the moment, is the desire to put 7.5 billion people in specific boxes so that we can have some sort of predictability or stability in our lives. I was an emotionally abusive young man in my 20s because I had an idea of what my wife should do, and it caused a lot of stress.
Why were you the way you were?
I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of
see, he's not answering the question.
He's
not answering the question.
Stress that I had to deal with also that I wasn't dealing with because men don't show emotion.
There is a
Okay. Let me real quick. I get what he's saying, but he's also saying a whole lot of nothing. Like, I was abusive, never talks about how abusive he was or why. When they ask him, why were you the way you were? I was angry. Well, what were you angry about? What parts of society set you off? Specifically. And this idea that he's talking about, we want to put things in boxes because it just makes things easier and quicker to make decisions. Yeah. No shit. That's how civilization works. We as human beings recognize patterns, right? It's one of the most basic, fundamental, evolutionary traits that we can adapt is the ability to recognize patterns and to be able to take that pattern and identify tropes and stereotypes. And yes, there are a lot of negative tropes and stereotypes in our society and things that may hold back the idea of everyone having equity and equality and whatever. But that's not masculinity. That's not what masculinity does. Healthy masculinity takes healthy stereotypes and healthy tropes and says, okay, What are the positive values? What are the positive skills someone of your personality type, someone of your stereotype, what are the positive things that you could bring to a group project? Or what are the positive things you could bring to society? How could we lift each other up? What are our strengths and weaknesses? And how could we work together and interplay those strengths and weaknesses to be fucking stronger men and kick ass on this project and get this 90-story tower fucking built? Because we're going to have to come together. We're going to have to work together to do that, no matter what differences we have. You see, that's the fucking problem I have with a person like you see right there in the back. Is you want nothing identifiable, but yet everything is identity. And yet every identity is supposed to be the exact same, or the same vacuum of predictability. Well, if nobody's predictable, then nobody has strengths and weaknesses. And we can't identify what makes us different and what makes us more of a utility to the people in our lives to help bring people up together. We're the more different we get, the more weird we get, the more fucking homogeneously absent actual soul becomes.
Social construct that benefits men. And so the responsibility that I've learned as I've gotten older is learning how to not enforce my power, learning over women.
Social construct that benefits men. Men are more homeless are men. More combat deaths are men. Prison, men. Poverty, men. We have created a world that gives women charity, that gives women welfare, that protects women in combat areas. You could say it's toxic masculinity that did it, but that's not a benefit of men.
And over people.
You're saying that role gives men more privilege, like an advantage and privilege. I'm saying that it is more self-sacrificing. I do not have free time. I do not have hobbies. I do not wake up during the day and do what I want to do, ever. I'm thinking about my wife, my kids, my business.
But that's your decision, and that's not like a mandatory thing of your masculinity.
Well, if you believe that God is true,
I don't.
And you believe that He is God, then you do have that responsibility.
What privileges are you referring to? Like, what privileges do men?
Okay. So again, taking God out of the equation, again, I could be a religious person. I could get down with the idea of God being God. But to take God out of the equation and make his point more realistic to the other people in the fucking room, right? This idea that that's a choice. It's a choice. This is clearly someone who doesn't have kids. The transgender, the non-binary person there. It's clearly someone who doesn't have kids. Because if you think sacrificing and providing for the next generation is a choice, if you think wanting to see your loved ones suffer and struggle because there's not enough, because there's not enough house, there's not enough food, there's not enough light, there's not enough resources to provide them with a happy, healthy, sane existence, oh, that's a choice. Okay, so what's the fucking alternative? Having my kids eat out of a dumpster? Having them have to learn through reading books in the dark instead of having access to things like utilities and the internet? Having them not have a father in their day-to-day life so they grow up with mental health issues? Oh, but wait. Oh, that might mean they might be more like that person.
Male, do men have?
We've constructed this entire society.
You are referring to? Like what?
Is God,
Here, let me-
then you do have that responsibility.
What privilege are you like? Do you are referring to?
What privilege?
Like what privileges do,
here we go.
do men have?
We've constructed this entire society to benefit us.
Break it down. Like what privileges exactly?
Like we talk about the wage gap, or if you look at Roe versus Wade,
Bullshit.
controlling women's
More
bodies.
bullshit.
Even if there might be those privileges,
Roe versus Wade. What? 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 What the fuck is this? I'm assuming this guy means the Dobbs decision overturning the federal Roe versus Wade right, but even then, that puts it in an even playing field that men and women can't back out of parenthood. I don't see how that's a privilege for men. If anything, that's more restricted for men because men can't just go freely knock women up and just be like, oh, I'm going to pay for the abortion. The things that these weirdos think are good or are beneficial have no fucking place. People don't desire that. Oh, I won because a woman has to stay pregnant now. Nobody's celebrating that. They're celebrating that the babies aren't being fucking killed, which has nothing to do with a benefit for the men. That's a benefit for the children.
there's also more men who commit suicide, more men incarcerated.
Here we go.
I think when you talk about
Everything I just talked about.
incarceration rates and things like that, like things that men are a victim of, I think that it's important to recognize, I don't think that men are oppressed solely on the grounds that they're men. I think that men experience oppression based on the intersections of their identities, which is, why we see different lower class jobs being worked by men, or higher suicide rates, or incarceration rates going up. Because
I'm gonna call bullshit. Because again, you're not seeing, I mean, you do see it, but you're not seeing an epidemic of young black women getting into fights with police officers and murdered by the cops. You're not seeing an epidemic of those things. So if you're saying it's the intersection of your communities, no. There are more white men in prison than black women. So therefore, gender seems to matter a little bit fucking more than your community. Now, one could say men are more aggressive. Sure. Men are more likely to take risks. Sure. But that still doesn't change the statistic that for the same crime with the same severity, men are more likely to serve a longer sentence and more severe punishments.
Black men, brown men, indigenous men, queer men, trans men, etc. Those people face oppression, they experience oppression, but it's not solely due to their identity as a man.
But I think dating and sex is probably a very interesting place to think about this because it's changing.
And again, I just addressed most of that, but I think it's funny that, the way he laid that out, or the way they laid that out, made it seem like, no white men are ever wrongfully arrested, ever. Yeah, well, this person should check their non-binary privilege.
Field as far as what people expect of each other.
I date in New York City a lot, and dating-wise, there's a lot that's asked of a man. First dates are nightmares.
I've got a question on that, yeah.
Toast to that dude right there.
I'm what do you want? They got a checkbox are you gonna pick me up? Are you gonna walk on the outside of the sidewalk? Are you gonna open the door? Are you gonna pull out the seat? Are you gonna pay for the meal? Are you gonna be interesting during the dinner? Are you gonna be funny during the dinner? And then when you walk home, are you gonna drop me off? Are you gonna watch me walk inside? And then are you gonna text me after? And it's like trying to defuse a bomb. If you think you're red wire, blue wire, and you're one little thing and you're just done. And it's I'm to the point where I'm so tired of paying $150 for a first date.
But remember, this is a male-benefited fucking society we've built where these are the fucking rules. Bullshit.
And then you just ghost me. And the next week, I'm like hurting for cash. I'm like, I could have really used that 150. Like, why did I have to? You know what I'm saying?
The trade-off of like going on a date and as the man being like, oh, this sucks, I have to pay, or as the woman being like, oh, this sucks, I might get murdered, is like a pretty big, imbalance.
What? What? Might get murdered. I can't. I have so many thoughts on that. That's a whole hour show, me responding to that fucking question right there. I can't do it. Sorry, guys. If I open my mouth, this fucking show's going to go 3 hours long, and I can't do it.
On a first date, should the man, or whoever identifies as the man on the date, pick up the check? Show of hands. Who thinks yes?
Yeah, should is a weird.
Yeah, should's a weird way to put it. Okay, sorry. How would you put it?
I very much love gender roles.
Is expected. It's expected. Should? No. Expected? Yes.
Friends seem to be the same. My girlfriends seem to want that as well. But I have a male friend who was naturally doing that. And with the dates he was going on with women, they were offended that he took the check. So I think hey, if this woman doesn't want him to pay and she wants to show she can pay, go off.
I think it's a matter of preference. If someone picked it up for you, you develop a kind of rapport, respect with that person, so be it. If the other person, the woman you're with doesn't want that, then maybe it's not the match for that person. So I think it's dependent on the situation.
But I think that there's such a thing as financial abuse. And men seem a lot of time, because they spend, that a woman has to be under them or owes them something.
I think that's when it gets toxic.
Me personally, I love to take care of my partner. I love that feeling that I give them, that they're taken care of when they're with me. And that's when it's with friends, anybody. If you're with me, I got you.
I guess what I'm hearing from you, Andre, is that there's a lot of pressure to inhabit.
Okay, but this idea of financial abuse, that's taking everything you said to a whole other level, and then the next thing you do is admit, I want to take charge. I want to pay for my people, That's a masculine trait, to take care of your loved ones, or at least take care of people to impress them. Those are masculine traits. Women are more nurturing.
The masculine side of the social expectation, and yet you might not get the benefit that you would have expected generations ago, and that puts you in a weird position.
Yeah, well, we live in a city where there's 8 million people, and a lot of these girls, especially if you're really attractive, guys are hitting on them all day. So they feel like celebrities. You got so many options. I don't blame you. I'd be the same way. It becomes
always somebody better.
I think technology has a big part to do with that now. Modern times.
Yeah, these women have so many simps and hangers-on and fucking Twitter followers and Instagram followers and Facebook friends who only see the pictures they post on social media where they're all made up and pretty. They never see them fresh out of bed with no makeup and fucking hair all fucked up. So they got all these fucking hangers-on and men telling them how fucking beautiful they are all day, every day, across several social media channels. Yeah, they're 304s, man. Because they know if you're not going to be the provider, you're not going to give me mines. And give me. If you're not going to play the gimme game with them, the grass is greener one step over. There's a simp who will.
Times online dating, Instagram.
Especially as a girl, you're going to have 30 DMs a day.
Yeah, the DMs.
You know what I'm saying? Swipe it up on your picture.
I think that's a big reason why it can be tougher for some men.
Not successful.
I think what he's saying is there's a toxicity to femininity as well. There is a toxic side to both genders.
The smartest thing that guy said all day.
Anybody can be narcissistic, but I think that it's weird to randomly attribute that to women in New York because they're being complimented all day.
There's a term, it's called absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, but that is, when we're talking about masculinity, that's what we've had. We've typically had that. We can do whatever we want, and we do it because we squeeze, we corrupt, we take. Historically, you take over things, places that you don't like, and you rape the women, and you take the gold, and you do what you want because you have.
Those are warriors and savages. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about warriors and savages, which historically there's been a lot of fucking war and a lot of fucking conquering. So don't mix my words here. What he's saying has some fucking validity to it. But let's not act like the fucking average villager who's just trying to fucking have a mate and some children is picking up a goddamn sword, running to the fucking neighboring village, slaughtering the men and raping all their women. That's a Hollywood fucking fiction, my bro.
Have that power. Now when we see women have that power, we're like, whoa, she's literally just getting a taste of the power that men have had for centuries.
But on the flip side of this perspective of dating, of like...
A taste of what men have had for centuries. That villager I was just talking about, do you think he ever the average fucking citizen of every fucking country, the average male in world fucking history, how many of them had a fucking tablet with a digital harem inside where all he had to do is push a button and he got anything he fucking wanted? No. Men of every century, of every generation had to work to build a life that would attract a mate. And it's no different in 2023. You have to build your fucking life up, and then you might be lucky enough to attract a mate.
The poor guy who goes on these dates and gets ghosted, and it's a struggle to date. On the other side of that is men have more sex, men cheat more, they have more affairs. So if I'm a woman and I'm looking for a guy, I would be really selective. I would have a list of what I was looking for, and the guy would have to meet those standards and they would be high.
I think that over the last several years...
Cool story, bro, but where is that happening? Where is that happening really? Do you think these Instagram 304s really have that high of standard? Do you think they're being selective about their mates? Do you think they're selecting based on the things they want and need? Or do you think they're selecting mates based on excitement? Oh. And I've been canned. Well then. Huh. Am I online? It says my stream's been blocked. What the fuck? It says restrictions none. Am I live? If anyone could see this, type something in the chat. It says temporarily blocked. Hey, there we go. We're back. Okay, that was interesting. Wow. Don't know what happened. We got copyright something, and then I kept refreshing, trying to figure out where the heck to dispute it, and it just kept saying that I'm live, that there was no copyright issues. And I was like, okay, what's going on? I'm clicking in my studio, nothing's popping up, and then all of a sudden I'm live again. So welcome back, everybody. So whoever just reviewed or figured out whoever at YouTube just figured out that what I'm doing is fair use, thank you very much. And I'm going to continue.
Years, the Me Too movement has given a lot of insight into what women are feeling in the workplace, what they're experiencing, how they're being abused and otherwise silenced, how institutions of power have kept them silent. And we've heard some really awful stories and some terrible shit. I want to hear from you guys what you think about what the Me Too movement did. Has it gone too far?
Oh, God.
What does it mean
Oh,
for
God.
you?
I think it's good for women to expose men who are doing evil things in the workplace. I think it's been a good thing in exposing sexual abuse. There's also the opposite side of that coin where women are allowed privilege to do certain things that men are not. So in the workplace, I was working at a place where a woman was grabbing me inappropriately, doing things that were inappropriate. And when you bring that up to your coworkers, you know what they say? They laugh and they say, you should be excited, right? So if a man is sexually abused, the stigma totally changes.
Well,
Am I down
Me
again?
Too necessarily like is what.
What the fuck? It just happened again. What in the hell, YouTube? It's still blocked. Okay, we're back. I don't know. It seems to be just picking it up and yeeting me. I'm gonna try. Let me try doing something here. Let's do this. Let's try playback speed 1.25, right? And then I'm going to take and stretch the video out a little more. So let's try this. Okay.
Prevented people from believing you and your story. And like your story is valid, like I'm not here to suppress that, but I do think that like it's worth noting women are far more likely to be victims of sexual assault.
You just experienced a little bit of weakness that women feel most of the time.
When we're talking about constructs, you know, you guys are saying we need to deconstruct masculinity. I'm saying there are unequal biases with both genders.
So first off, what the non-binary person said, that women are more likely to experience sexual violence, that's a misnomer. I mean, men in prison, men in shady situations, quite frequently become victims of sexual violence. I mean, granted, the feminist would say, well, that's at the hands of other men, but we're gonna separate victimhood by gender and say that it's not a fucking problem to be a victim. Anyway,
when it comes to it not necessarily being as viewed as valid, it happens to be the case because of other men, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, other men are the people that downplay that, and that's where we come back to the talk of, patriarchy and things like that.
Was put in place by men.
Bullshit. It's women who do it. Men downplay it, yes, but fucking women downplay it 10 times more. It's women who make fun of fucking people for being vulnerable. Motherfucker. Well, shit. I don't know what to say. I'm not seeing any way here. Fucking copyright. It's their automated system. It has to be their automated. It's bots. It's bots that's picking this up. It happened to Joe Neerman the other day. It's the algorithm. YouTube's got their automated copyright system that's supposed to be mostly for music, but it picks up an audio of something that they know is copyrighted. It processes it and then it eats it. I'm going to try to figure out some way to finish this stream. We're here kind of at the end of the show now. This is actually a pretty good stopping point on the video. It's now been an hour and we've had to fight this. I'm not going to fight it anymore. Please come back this Saturday, 4 p.m. I take that fucking back. Not Saturday at 4 p.m. There's a really important NFL game this weekend. How about this? How about just follow me on Locals, Facebook. All the links are down in the description. Give me a like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I got all kinds of social media down in the description where I will notify people of my next stream. If you hit the bell for notifications, it'll let you know when I'm going live next. It'll probably be Friday evening. Now that I'm thinking about it, we'll probably have to do either Friday evening or a very early morning Saturday stream. Gonna have to get that figured out. But it just occurred to me that I'm not going to be able to do my usual 4 p.m. on Saturday because the NFL playoffs and there's a birthday party and a lot of stuff going on in my life. So my apologies for that. I will let people know on Locals, on Facebook, on Twitter. Catch you next time here on Miles Culture Plate. Take care, everybody. Take care of one another. Peace, love, and all that stuff. Don't get any on you, and if you do, rub that shit in real good. Take care. Have a good one. Peace.